Hello and welcome to pmslounge.com. In this video, we will be going over the measurement performance domain. There are 8 performance domains. We have covered all of them. If you are into reading articles, check out the first link in the description, which will take you to an article on this topic over at our official website, pmslounge.com. But if you're into watching videos, continue watching to understand the measurement performance domain. And if you want to go over all the performance domains, then check out the second link in the description below, which will take you to an entire playlist of all the performance domains that we have discussed so far. So measurement performance domain, here's the agenda that we are going to cover today. We'll talk about an introduction, some of the desired outcomes, some key definitions, then the main stuff related to this performance domain. And as always, we'll also end with how this performance domain interacts with the other performance domains, as well as how do you check results, what are some of the key takeaways. So let's get started and talk about the measurement performance domain. It focuses on assessing project performance. Now, we have been taking an example of an e-commerce website to understand all of these different domains, right? So we'll carry over with that example. And as this point says, measurement performance domain focuses on assessing the project performance. So in our e-commerce website development project, this means checking if we are building the website on schedule, within budget, and meeting the requirements that have been set out for us. Now, the goal is to take timely actions to maintain acceptable performance. If we see issues like delays in testing or a growing backlog of unresolved bugs, we act quickly so the project stays on track. Effective execution ensures reliable status, actionable data, and value delivery. As an example, by monitoring conversion rates on this e-commerce website or server response times, the project team can make data-driven decisions that directly impact customer satisfaction. So the effective execution for this performance domain is reliable status, actionable data, and value delivery. So that is why measuring stuff is so important. Desired outcomes of measurement. A reliable understanding of the status of the project means everyone has the same view of the progress of the project. For example, in the e-commerce website project, the dashboard should clearly show if we are meeting milestones like homepage development or checkout integration or payment gateway integration and whatnot. Actionable data to facilitate decision making means we are not just collecting numbers but using them to make informed choices also. So if your defect counts are rising, we know it is time to slow down new feature development and focus on the quality, focus on fixing existing issues. Timely and appropriate actions to keep performance on track, which means acting quickly. For example, if we see that page load times are above the target, we should address server optimization or maybe make changes to the web pages before we move further. Achieving targets and generating business value ensures that the project is not only on track but also aligned with business goals like increasing online sales or reducing customer drop-offs. Okay, key definitions. A metric is something that describes what is measured and how it is measured. For our website development project, a metric could be the average page load time, and it can be measured in seconds or milliseconds. A baseline is the approved version used for comparison. For example, if we plan the website launch in 5 months, that timeline becomes the baseline against which the actual progress will be measured. And finally, there's dashboards, right? So dashboards display key measures visually. In practice, this could be project dashboard showing progress on tasks, budget consumption, and test pass rates for the e-commerce website. If we consider the e-commerce website example, then what is the pass rate for your tests that you are running? So that is something that can be displayed on dashboards. Establishing effective measures. Effective measures track and evaluate performance. For example, if we track the bounce rate of our e-commerce homepage, we can evaluate whether the design changes are working or not. And when we say bounce rate, it's the time that your user spends on a specific web page, right? So if I log into the e-commerce website that you have developed, how much time do I spend on it before I move to another page or maybe another website or just exit the browser itself? That is bounce rate. So if we can track bounce rate for our homepage or any other page of our website, we can evaluate the design changes that we might have put in and if they are working or not. Are people staying longer on the website or they are just bouncing off ASAP? They reduce the likelihood of performance deterioration. Now we are talking about effective measures. So if you have effective measures in place, the likelihood of your performance deteriorating is going to come down. By monitoring metrics, for example, the density of defects, also known as defects density, we will be able to identify quality issues much early in the game before these issues get worse. Now, they also support timely decisions and effective actions. Now, when we say they here in both these points, we are talking about effective measures, right? That's what we are establishing. So as an example, if sales conversions drop after the checkout redesign, you might have redesigned the checkout and the sales conversions have dropped, then timely measurement lets us roll back the changes quickly and make the checkout design as it was earlier, right? So that is something that can be done as long as you have effective measures in place. Key performance indicators or KPIs. Leading indicators predict future performance. In an e-commerce website project, the number of unresolved high priority bugs could predict potential delays at launch. So this is what it means. Your leading indicators are going to predict that, there's a lot of bugs that you have and all of them are high priority, which means it is possible that your launch will be delayed. So this is why KPI is so important. Lagging indicators measure past performance. As an example, the number of successfully completed features is a lagging indicator because it reflects what has already been achieved, what is already done. So that's the difference between leading indicators and lagging indicators. Something that's already done is a lagging indicator. Something that you think of can happen in the future based on what you are seeing right now is a leading indicator. KPIs are useful only when they drive action. As an example, if you just know that the cart abandonment rate is high after your design change, does not do anything for you, right? It does not help unless you decide to redesign the checkout flow to improve the cart abandonment rate. So KPIs are all great. You can define them, you can measure them, but unless you act on them, they will be of no use. At this point, I would like to pitch in our PM 101 free 1.5 hours training video. This is an absolute legend. It is by far the highest viewed project management basics training video on YouTube. Check out the link in the description, and I'm pretty sure this is going to help you if you are trying to get yourselves into project management or maybe trying to brush up your project management skills. So we have covered 5 topics. Let's start things off with effective matrix now. And we are talking about SMART criteria. For those of you who are working in the corporate might have already heard about the SMART criteria. So this means specific, meaningful, achievable, relevant, and timely. So let's talk about specific. Specific means measuring clear attributes. For example, instead of just tracking the website performance, you can measure average page load time in seconds or maybe in milliseconds. So this is getting specific, right? You're not just tracking something and painting it with a broad brush of website performance. You are getting down to the average page load time in seconds. So you're getting very specific here. Okay, let's talk about meaningful. Meaningful means tying measures to objectives. For example, tracking customer reviews. This is very meaningful because it ties directly to user satisfaction. Next is achievable, which means that whatever targets that you are setting, they must be realistic. Expecting the team to deliver 100 new features in a month is not achievable at all for our e-commerce website project, of course. Now, relevant means measures should provide value. Tracking the number of colors in the design of your website is totally irrelevant. But if you track the cart abandonment rate, how many people leave the cart as is without making a purchase, that impacts business results. So that provides value. So whatever matrix that you choose, make sure they are relevant as well. And finally, timely means information must be current. A sales conversion metric from 6 months ago is not useful in making today's decision. So whatever information that you use to make your decisions or set your criterias, they should be current as well. Okay, what to measure? Measure deliverables including defects and performance. As an example, we can track how many checkout bugs are open versus how many of them are fixed. You should track delivery speed and efficiency. Metrics like cycle time help us see how fast features like wishlist, for example, or maybe filters on the products are being built. So that is something that you should track. Compare actuals against baselines. So if the baseline said homepage design should finish by 4 weeks, but it finished in 6 weeks, we know that we have slipped by 2 weeks. So you should always compare the actuals against the baselines. And this is not just relevant for schedules. This is relevant for even the cost of your project as well. Now, assess resource usage and costs. We might compare the planned developer hours with actual logged hours. So we might have thought that it is going to take 80 hours or 2 weeks for a developer, but then we can also see what were the actual logged hours by the developer himself or herself on working on this project or this feature that we assign to them, right? Measure business value. As an example, are the new product recommendation features that you just rolled out, right? Are these even driving sales? So this is how you measure business value. Coming up with new features like product recommendation engine or something that you throw in on your website, all of that is fine. That's a new feature, but you have to measure the business value as well. Capture stakeholder satisfaction. A simple survey can show if customers find the website easy to navigate and easy to use or not. So something like this can be used to capture stakeholder satisfaction. By the way, what are we talking about? We are talking about what all you can actually measure, and some of the stuff here is something that you should always measure. Use forecasts to plan future performance. So you have metrics like velocity. This can predict how many features can realistically be completed in the next sprint. If you want to know more about sprint velocity, I'll share a link to that video in the description below. In fact, I'll share a link to a playlist of CSM certification because that talks a lot about all these different agile concepts that we are talking about here. Okay, presenting information. Information should be timely, accessible, and easy to understand. So this is about presenting information after you have done your measurements. As an example, team members should know instantly if the checkout testing that you are doing is that behind schedule or is it on schedule. So whatever information that you should present, it should be timely, it should be accessible, and it should be easy to understand. There's no point in coming up with different type of bar charts if people are not able to understand what you are reporting. Dashboards provide visual summaries of project data. Our e-commerce dashboard could show progress on the completion of the features. It could show the cost that have been spent on the project. It could also show the open bugs, right? The number of open bugs, maybe their severity and priority as well. So this is the kind of data that you can use to display on dashboards. Information radiators display updates openly. This could be as simple as a wall chart which shows the burn down charts and maybe the risk logs. They can keep everyone informed without needing long reports. So this is an important concept. Information radiators, something that we discussed when we were talking about extreme programming. So an entire playlist of extreme programming will also be available in the description below. Visual controls help track work progress. A Kanban board with sticky notes can show tasks like, develop homepage or test the cart functionality or deploy the payment gateway or complete the payment gateway integration, right? So this is a Kanban board, and this is going to visually help track your work progress. Okay, let's talk about some pitfalls of measurement. Measurement influences behavior for sure. For example, if we only measure speed, then developers might rush and ignore quality. So it is important that you focus on quality as well, not just speed. It's not just about how much time we took to roll out a feature. It's also about how useful that feature was. It's also about how many bugs or defects that feature had when we launched it, right? Vanity metrics provide no real value. So if you just focus on, let's say, page views, then that alone cannot prove whether your page is a success or not. What matters here is how many of those views actually turned into purchases from the customers. So vanity metrics like number of views does not really matter. What matters is the amount of sales that you have done. Unachievable goals can hurt morale. Now, what are we talking about if you've forgotten? We are talking about some of the pitfalls of measurement. So if you measure the wrong stuff, it is actually a pitfall. If you have unachievable goals that you are measuring against, it can hurt the team's morale. So if the team is asked to finish 100 features in one sprint, repeated failure will reduce motivation. So if that's something that you do for 3 sprints, it is going to reduce the motivation, right? Metrics can be distorted or misused also. As an example, focusing only on short-term feature delivery may hide the long-term quality issues. So just focusing on faster delivery of features can actually hide long-term quality issues. Bias and false assumptions can mislead decisions. Correlation is not causation. For example, if sales drop after a UI update that you made on the website, the root cause may not be the design, but it could also be the seasonality or competition. This is something to be aware of. Correlation is not necessarily causation. Okay, let's talk about troubleshooting performance. Now, thresholds help detect when performance goes off track. For example, if website hosting costs exceed 20% of the planned budget, it signals the need for action. So you should always have thresholds in place. Exception plans define actions when thresholds are crossed. So if page load time, for example, exceeds, let's say, 5 seconds, the agreed action might be to add server capacity immediately, or maybe reduce the size of images on the page, something like that. Proactive action prevents major issues. So rather than waiting for complaints, the team can anticipate delays by reviewing early trends while the development is already in progress. So this is an example of proactive action that can prevent major issues from happening in the future. I would like to remind you about our playlist section here. If you're preparing for PMP certification, this is a gold mine. Head over to youtube.com/PMC Lounge/playlists. Everything is absolutely free. Okay, let's continue with our agenda. We have covered 10 topics so far. Let's move on to topic number 11, which is all about continuous improvement and learning. Continuous improvement ensures lessons are applied throughout the project, not just towards the end when you do a lessons learned or a retrospective meeting, right? If you focus on continuous improvement, you will be able to ensure that lessons are applied throughout the life cycle of the project. In our e-commerce development project, the e-commerce website development, that is, this might mean holding retrospectives after each release or after each sprint to capture what went well and what needs adjustment. So this is something that you're doing every 2 weeks or after every release, which could be, let's say, a monthly release, which involves 2 sprints. So if you do retrospectives like that, instead of, waiting for 6 months once the whole new feature or a new website goes live, that is something which is not expected here. Measurement helps teams adapt processes and avoid the repeated mistakes. For example, if testing consistently reveals that there are issues in your checkout flow, the team can improve requirements gathering or maybe design reviews to prevent similar problems, right? So the team can focus more on this checkout flow because the team knows that consistently there are issues being reported in this flow. The goal is to deliver increasing value over time. With each cycle or with each sprint or with each release, the website should get more stable. It should become more user friendly and it should be better aligned with the business objectives, which could be, higher sales, which could be customer satisfaction, customer retention as well. Interactions with other performance domains. Now, I've said this earlier, I'll say it again. All these performance domains, they don't operate in vacuum. All of them interact. So as an example, measurement supports planning by comparing results to the plan. So planning is another performance domain and measurement supports this by comparing results. As an example, if the plan called for 10 completed features by the third month, but only 6 are ready, the planning team knows that adjustments are needed. We shouldn't be planning for 10 completed features the next time for the next 3 months. It works with project work to track ongoing progress. Now, this is another performance domain, project work. Metrics such as story points completed per sprint show how smoothly the work is moving. By the way, I just said metrics such as story points completed per sprint. Story points completed per sprint. What is this called? Let me know in the comments. Storylines completed per sprint. What is this the definition of? It validates delivery outcomes. So delivery is another performance domain and measurement validates the outcomes of delivery. Business metrics such as increased sales confirm that project deliverables are achieving their intended purpose. It informs team and stakeholder engagement. Dashboards and reports keep both developers as well as management and other stakeholders aligned. It also connects. When we say it, we are talking about the measurement performance domain, by the way. So measurement performance domain connects with uncertainty by identifying risks. As an example, if the resource burn rate is much higher than planned, it signals a risk of budget overrun. Okay, let's check results. How do you check results while using the measurement performance domain? Reliable status is confirmed through audits and reports. As an example, weekly audit checks could verify whether testing logs match the reported progress. Data should indicate if project is on track. So if the website traffic goals are falling short, you're not getting enough traffic on the website, it shows the project may not be delivering the expected business impacts. Indicators should lead to timely action. Rising defect counts are a signal to add more focus on quality. This is something that should be done immediately. So whatever indicators you're using, if they don't lead for you to take action, then what's the point, right? Forecasts should guide decisions about value delivery. Now, here's the thing. A forecast showing delayed payment integration may trigger the decision to reprioritize features for an earlier launch altogether. Okay, let's talk about some key takeaways from this performance domain. Measurement provides reliable project status. For an e-commerce website development project, this means knowing at any point how close we are to the launch, whether budget is under control, and if quality is meeting expectations. So your measurement is going to provide reliable project status. Actionable data enables smarter decisions. Instead of guessing, the team relies on real numbers like defect counts, feature completion rates, or maybe even server uptime. Timely actions keep projects on track. When we identify a red flag, such as low test coverage, we can immediately fix it instead of waiting until the launch day. Metrics ensure alignment with business value. As an example, monitoring conversion rates and cart abandonment rate helps ensures the site delivers the ROI that is expected by the business. And finally, continuous improvement is powered by measurement. Each project cycle or each sprint provides insights, and applying those insights makes the next phase stronger as well as more effective. So that's all that we had about this performance domain. The VIP Pass is our YouTube membership program. You are going to get a lot of bang for your buck, including a chance to have a virtual one-on-one consultation session with me as well. If you're interested, definitely go ahead, hit the join button and join our elite members that are part of the PMC Lounge community. So that's all that we had in this one. I hope you got value out of it. Definitely consider subscribing if you like our work, and keep learning. Check out our other videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.